Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this broadcast of our Blog Talk Radio show about the Kundalini awakening experiences that many of you are having. And I realize that they are all different because we all come into this with different karma. And because of our different karma, we have different aptitudes, appetites, experiences that we need to move through as we climb this pyramid of Kundalini, this great structure of divinity that is forming within us. And I'm reminded of another radio program that we had where we were enjoying the view from the heights as we climb the steps of the pyramid. And for a brief moment, I'd like to revisit that view. And so as you sit where you are, or stand where you are, or listen to this program from where you are, once again, I'm going to ask you to go into yourself and look at the pyramid that you have within you, the pyramid of grace. And it's not always going to be pretty or golden, although it can be. A lot of it will depend on the level of experience you're having with the Kundalini right now. It will depend on how your ego is feeling about the different gifts or the different equations that are coming up for you within this aspect of your Kundalini awakening. And it's not always easy, but it is often beautiful and amazing and glorious and heavenly in every aspect for yourself. But yet, those qualities will sometimes be pulled back away from us as we are in this dense field of materiality, this dense, what Robert Monroe, the out-of-body author, would call the M band of frequency. And when you're in the M, or the material band of frequency, it's not always a simple equation to receive the divine downloads or the heavenly downloads that the Kundalini will often bring to us in subtle and sometimes gross formats. So as you stand on this lower step of the pyramid, I'm just going to ask you to look around you. Look around in the society, feel the miasma of different energetic frequencies emanating from your city or from the environment that you're in right now. Feel it and move into it with your grace. Let your grace become more present within you than you normally would have it. And allow yourself to feel what grace is giving you. Now, I understand if you have entities, then the entities will try to interrupt your feeling of grace. But you'll know from the little smidgens of experience that you've had over the years that you can remember what that grace is like. And because you can remember it, you can bring that grace into a present relevant format for yourself. Very important for you to be able to do this, because until we become a greater level of conduit for divine frequency, we have to take what we're able to take of it and to bring that into a present time format. And as we do that, we begin to generate a greater level of divine frequency acceptance by us without having to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, without having to go back to the beginning of the activation or the beginning of the awakening and go through all the traumas and travails and joys and happiness that those events mark for a person. Right now, you just bring the past into the future or the present context. You bring what you remember of what it is, like when you received a Kundalini download, or when you received a divine truth, or when you received a divine feeling, or a feeling of omnipresent love, or a feeling of total wisdom, or a feeling of total experiential of a divine frequency nature. Bring that reference point into the present moment and allow that reference point to re-exist inside of your present moment. It's very important for us to do this as we stand on this lower step of the great divine pyramid that is developing within us, and we look around at the lower step, and we look around at taking the step from the ground onto the first step of divine grace that this pyramid represents. You don't just bring yourself onto this step. You bring all your experiences. You bring all of the experiences with people, with your job, with your life, with your family, with your romance, with your loved ones, with your animals, with the interactions that you've had with different levels of consciousness in your life at this point. And if you have entities attached to you, then you bring those experiences with you as well. Everything gets to be put on the table, on the table of transformation for Kundalini restoration and construction. And so bring that into your space right now. Bring this level of experiential reference point into your present moment as you look and you experience and you feel the grace around you and the consciousness around you as you put that one foot and lift yourself up onto the first step of divine Kundalini transformation. So look around you. Do you live in a city? Are you in the countryside? Are you in a country that prohibits freedom, freedom to worship as you wish to worship, or to take from the internet what is out there to be had? Are you being controlled this way or that way through your social relationships, through your political relationships, through your educational or your employment-based relationships? And bring all those into your Kundalini continuum right now. Bring them in and feel the Kundalini begin to work on these things. Bring your spiritual experiences into the Kundalini bubble and feel the Kundalini begin to transform them, to transform your understandings about them. Open yourself to receive present time downloads based upon the present time past experiences that you have. And this, once again, as I've mentioned in other programs, this is a form of time travel. This is a form of time traveling, and this form of time traveling is purely up to you. You get to make that choice. You get to dive into the memories of your Kundalini experiences and pull them from the past into the present, and to allow that experience, that divine experience that you had, whether it was a download or a vision or a dream or some sort of a prescient experience that you had, you are allowed to take that from the past, place it in the present, and create a whole new level of experiential information given to you based upon that now current experience within your mind. And so take a moment and do this. It's very important that people allow themselves to take from the past and to bring it into a present time format. This is a stream. This is the stream that is being given to you right now. The Shakti stream, the Kundalini stream that's coming through me right now. This is not scripted. I have nothing to read. I'm simply opening myself the same way that I'm suggesting that you open yourself as well. Open yourself to the present moment, but select a time in your experience with the Kundalini to bring into your present moment and expand that divine experience. Now, what I would do if I was having this suggestion given to me instead of streaming it out to all of you, I would take my most amazing, pleasant moment and bring that in to the present moment. So whatever I experienced as far as bliss or a really, really significant moment of Kundalini awareness in the past, I would bring that straight in to this present moment and let the Kundalini expand it once again for you. This is the difference between divine experiential frequency and mundane experiential frequency. With mundane experiential frequency, you will not have as much of an opportunity to bring it into the present moment as you would say a divine frequency. Divine frequencies are outside of time and space, and yet inside time and space at the same time. So once again, it is and it isn't. It is and it isn't at the same time. It's male and it's female, and it's male and it's female at the same time. It's the past and the present at the same time. It's the future and the present at the same time. But because you don't have experiential reference points for the future, you do have them for the past. And so I'm suggesting that you bring that very pleasant moment that you have, that you've experienced, or that you would like to experience, into the present moment and allow your Kundalini to caress it. Allow that energy that emanates from your radiance to come into that experiential moment and to bring it into a powerful point of contextual experience right now. Stand on that step, that first step. Look around you and look within you. Feel the Kundalini in my voice. Feel that reaching into you, helping you, assisting you to pick the most appropriate experience for you to bring into your rational present, your rational present, ego-dominated mind, if that's what is occurring for you at this moment. It doesn't matter. Divinity can skip right through the ego mind manifestations. Bring that into your present moment now and feel it expand within you. Feel the energy in my voice reaching into you and helping that to expand within you. Bring this into your format right now. Certainly not if you're driving. If you're listening to this on the telephone and you're driving through traffic, then I'd like you to pay attention to traffic. If you're at your work and you're multitasking and you're just kind of hearing this program kind of as an aside, or I would like you to focus on this and your work at the same time. Allow yourself to really multitask and from a divine level. I'd like to welcome everybody who is calling in, listening on their telephones. I'd like to say hello to everybody who is in the chat room. I'd like to say hello to everyone who is listening in the archives, the future people, the people that have yet to hear these words and yet may still feel these words, as once again, the divine frequencies are outside of time and placement. I'd like to say hello to everyone who is participating in whatever timeline with this program at this time, this present moment. Look out from that first step and feel the consciousness of all life forms come into you. You see, the radiance of Kundalini is composed of the divine materials that we are made of, that a cricket is made of, that a dog or a cat or a lion or a fish are made of. And these same forces of life are represented into the bacteria and the viruses and the nanoparticles of life and creation that exist all around us that we have very little conscious conception of. This is still a brave, brave new world where not all life is discovered. The hubris of humanity that thinks it has discovered all the life forms that exist on this world. And yet this is not so. There are so many more forms of life and consciousness that exist not only on this world, but in the atmosphere surrounding this world and in the inner depths of the oceans and the inner depths of the land masses. There are consciousness there as well, forms of consciousness that are equal to our own, if not further advanced than the five-sense mundane mind that most of humanity works from. Not you, though. Not you. For those of you that are Kundalini activated or awakened, you come from a very different point of consciousness manifestation. You come from a mixture of divine wisdom and divine light and divine radiance. And I separate light from radiance because radiance is a thicker frequency. It can superimpose itself upon light frequencies, but the radiance is it's the difference between I guess water and space. Divine frequencies are super condensed forms of what we might call love or wisdom. If you could mix or marry love and wisdom together, love, wisdom, and creative divine force together, then you would get a divine frequency. And that frequency is expressed through a person's radiant energetic field, which is really coming from, in a strong sense, they're coming from the heart chakra and the sixth chakra. The sixth chakra housing the source of the corona or the halo that comes around an individual, and the heart chakra housing and supporting and sourcing the entire energetic field of the aura all the way around with its representative striations of each chakra color coming through. And with a Kundalini person, as I've mentioned in some YouTube presentations and other Blog Talk Radio presentations, the aura of a Kundalini activated awakened individual can be extremely wide, a very, very wide footprint of energetic upon this world. And so what I'm going to get into later on is the ability to control your thoughts. To control your thoughts, you control the amount of radiant energy that's going into the energetic footprint that you're bringing around yourself. I know I've talked about this before, but it does bear repeating. So as we stand on that first step of that pyramid, we stand on that step and when we look around us, I want you to bring into your heart that level of awareness that allows you to touch the different conscious creative forms that God or divinity have placed upon this world. Not all of them will be friendly to the flesh or friendly to the bones or friendly, but within the divine contract that you're now operating from, you will not be attacked by any of these things. The divinity is not saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to stream through Chrism and pull in a bunch of predators, into a person. That's not what she is allowing to occur right now. She wants you to understand that you are not alone in your divine creative expression. And I know, you know this already. Just a second. The door just decided to open by itself. Go ahead and close that door. So maybe that's something that she's communicating to me right now, that you need to open the door of your consciousness. Open the door, open the window of your grace to your grace, that grace may begin to formulate an expression of consciousness and conditioning that this world wants you to have, that the world of this Kundalini creation wants you to have. This world is a Kundalini creation designed to help people go from dense materiality into divine expression in a series of lifetime experiences. And this goes across the realm of creation. The viruses have their own evolutionary contract with divinity. The bacteria have their own evolutionary contract with divinity. The mammals, the insects, the birds, the fish, they all have their own evolutionary trajectory along the divine consciousness evolution for their species. This world is not all about people. This world has many, many, many different evolutionary streams. And so as you stand on that first step of that beautiful silver gold pyramid within you, when you stand on that first step and you take in all these different levels of consciousness within the M band, the materialistic band of frequency, I would like you to open to the different levels of sentient contracts with the divine that is espoused by the different creatures upon this world. Think about that. You're inhaling sentient life forms. You're eating sentient life forms. Sentient life forms are eating you. They thrive on your skin, in your scalp, in your mouth, in your gut. We are them and they are us. And we are all on a unique frequency of divine contractual evolution. And one of the laws for humanity within that contract, the divine contract, is karma. Karma, meaning what you do is what you get, just to make it into a soundbite. What you give is what you get. What you do will be done to you. Okay? What goes around comes around. That type of thing. And once again, as you face outward from that beautiful silver gold pyramid within you, and you're on that first step and you're facing outward into the world, you're facing the world, not the pyramid. You're standing with your back to the pyramid and the front of your body to the world, to this beautiful jewel of concentrated, divine, creative consciousness. Breathe those frequencies into yourself. Breathe them into your heart. Breathe them into your body. Allow yourself to experience the sanctity of all life. Allow yourself to experience the sanctity of all life, the jewel of creation of all life forms on this world, known and unknown, past and present. Think about that and bring yourself into this expanded level of awareness. Use the energy in my voice if it helps you. Contact your Kundalini right now. Say that my Kundalini within me, please let me be consciously on the first step of your grace within me, facing outward, breathing in the consciousness of all creative life expressions on this world. Let that be your food, just like the Breatharians do. If you've ever heard of a Breatharian, Breatharian, I believe. I could be a little off on that. The Breatharians will stand out in a field or a meadow, and when I've been doing it, I typically choose the 3 o'clock, the golden hour in the morning, 3 o'clock a.m. You stand out in the middle of a beautiful natural landscape, a beautiful natural environment. It can be a desert. It doesn't have to be, choked with plants or anything, but I like to be in a meadow. The last time I did it was in Minnesota, right after a seminar, in the middle of the seminar, right before the Shaktipat, but at 3 a.m. that night. And I walked out into a field with some of the people that wanted to participate that way. And you breathe from the soles of your feet and from your hands and from your eyes and from your nose and your mouth. And you just breathe in the life force. Breathe in the life force. And you can feel the energetic as you do this. You can feel it feed you. And pretty soon you're able to breathe through the pores of your body, through the pores in your skin. You can breathe through any part of your body. You can breathe that prana, that life force, chi, into you. And at 3 a.m., it's a particularly good time to go to that breatharian-based restaurant. The restaurant in the fields, you might say. But as you stand on the pyramid and you're looking outward to the environment around you, breathe that consciousness within you. Feel its vitality. Feel its intelligence. Meld yourself with it and let yourself go deep into that mixing. Do this now. Feel it. Feel it embrace you as you embrace it. Feel that connection to all the different frequencies of life upon this world. Feel the rays of the sun. Feel the rays of the stars reaching down into you. And feel the level of expansion that this Kundalini experience can give to you. And thank the divine within you. Have the gratitude for divinity in an expressive state within you. Thank you, my Kundalini within me. Thank you, Kundalini, upon this world, upon this multiverse. Thank you, divine consciousness within me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as you stand on that step and you take all of this in, you begin to understand how everything is important to divine consciousness. Even the egotistical thoughts. These egotistical thoughts are just basically the clearing forum for people that are moving into the manifestation of unlimited consciousness. Well, they need to have a consciousness that is not unlimited. You can't go from A to B without there being an A to B. And the egocentric attitudes and understandings and thoughts and dependencies are all about giving us an opportunity to traverse a distance from a point of dense materiality and egotistical thinking to a point that is much less dense and far less within the thought process of materiality and density. Even the ego is honored by the divine. It's just not honored above all else, and it's certainly not honored above the divine that has even allowed its creation to be. We must take the baby steps before we take the long leaps. And for those of us that are addicted to our alcohol and our caffeine and our marijuana and our opiates and prescription drugs and all the different things that we take in order to alleviate our pain and alleviate our suffering and alleviate the difficulties that we experience by being alive on this world. Even as you take all of those things from a perspective of the ego, you're still moving forward. It's not an easy world to be asleep in. It's not a safe world to sleepwalk around it in. It can be very challenging. Very challenging. As we've mentioned on many of the programs before, you have entity consciousness that most of us cannot see. And because we cannot see it, we find it hard to believe in it, because we live in a world where, what you see is what you believe. What you hear, what you touch, what you taste, what you feel is what you believe. And if you can't feel it or see it, and yet it is there. It's much harder to believe in that reality. And of course, many of those entity consciousness will do their best to make you feel it. They'll try to hurt you. They'll try to talk with you. They'll try to dismiss you. They'll try to invalidate you. Many of these types of scenarios. Even as you're within that level of Kundalini transformation, find the gratitude for the divine expression within you. Find the gratitude for having the opportunity to resist a negative transformation or to allow divinity to come in and assist in the trajectory of the grace that is developing within you under these difficult circumstances. Under the difficult circumstances. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. And I don't think it's meant to be easy. Going from the M band of material density to the D band of divine intensity, that's quite a step. That's quite a step. And people can only move through different levels of density all at once at the same time. Not everybody can take, say, 3 levels of density per year. And some people can't even take 1 level of density per year. Another person could take 6 or 10 levels of density per year. And this all has to do with the level of openness that they have, the level of personal permission that they're giving to the divine within them to control them and to allow specific levels of education to come in to their awareness. And of course, I think it also helps to have a karmic redemptive pattern that is being expressed as that person opens up to the divine force within them. Now, people can get stuck in certain areas. They can get stuck in certain areas of development, say along the chakra path. As you climb that monument within you, as you climb that Jacob's ladder of a spinal cord that you have within you, you can get stuck on certain areas. So, for instance, you climb through the first chakra, and you got some Kundalini activation is coming through, and then you get right up to the second chakra, and there are no more handholds. There are no more handholds for you to pull yourself up past the second chakra. You can't see them, you can't feel them, you can't touch them, you don't have an awareness of how much further you need to go and how to get there, because she's not giving you the information to go beyond the second chakra. And when this happens, you may not be able to see that there's a third, a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chakra above that. You'll get stuck in the second chakra, and you'll start living your life from an expression of the fears and the creative power of the second chakra. You'll start using chi experiences as Kundalini experiences, and you'll start to confuse yourself because your ego, will feel a certain level of aggrandizement as that level of energetic comes into its expression. And you won't be able to move on from it. You may even start teaching from that level of expression, teaching others to be stuck in the second chakra. Think about that. Constantly, there must be a level of self-correction that moves you beyond the second chakra to the third chakra, and so on and so forth. But if the handholds disappear for a while, it doesn't mean that you're stuck there in the second chakra. It means that she wants you to learn about it more. She wants you to study it more. She wants you to understand that, yes, you will go on to the third chakra, the fourth chakra, the fifth chakra, and so forth. But right now, you need to study the second chakra. She will gauge your speed, not your ego. She, meaning the Sacred Mother Kundalini, will guide your speed and will guide the level of information that she gives to you and asks you to incorporate into your system. The Sacred Mother will do this. It's just the same. I mean, It is the exact same as a human mother with a toddler. You know, the toddler wants to go out in the middle of the highway. But the mother will take the hand of the toddler and go, no, honey, let's walk over here. Let's stay on the lawn. Let's stay in the living room. It's the same exact level of guidance that the sacred Shakti, the sacred Mother Kundalini, gives to us as we are climbing that Jacob's ladder of our chakra system within us. You must understand this, that you will not get to go at the speed that you want to go. And this is part of the whole surrendering to the sacred Kundalini within you, to that silver and gold pyramid within you. This is part of that surrender. You've got to let go of what you think you know and what you think you can control within yourself. You can do a lot of the things. You can stop drinking the alcohol. You can stop smoking the whatever it is you're smoking from, whether it's an herb like marijuana or tobacco or any of the other recreational things that people ingest or smoke. You can make the way clearer for yourself. You can self-correct to the point where handholds appear for you to use as you climb the chakra system. She does give you recourse. It's just not the recourse that your ego might want. The ego wants to have that martini every night. It's like, oh gosh, it helps me sleep, or oh well, I just need to relax, and I love just to have this martini and socialize and bring levels of social experience into my life, and I need that. I like that. I want that, but I want to be spiritual at the same time. Well, sometimes the two won't mix. And so you can create momentum for yourself and for your levels of understanding, for the levels of download that grace is giving you, and taking yourself out of that materialistic band into the divine band of heavenly frequencies. But you may have to make some changes first. Behavioral changes, too. Behavioral changes, like not seeking revenge, like not having to be to win all the time, not needing to be first, not needing to be noticed or self-aggrandized, or to be the center of attention in the room, or to be the most beautiful woman or the most handsome man, or all of the different levels of competition that we engage in here on this planet among ourselves and as we interact with this planet, pitting ourselves against a lion and then killing it from 1,000 yards or something that is astronomically amazing. I mean, if you're going to go after a lion, do it with a knife and be naked. Even the odds. And there you can kind of go, wow, if I was able to do that, then, well, okay. Do that with a grizzly or an orca. Even the odds. Even so, you don't need to come to compete by killing sentient creatures in order to feed an ego that is empty within itself. First and foremost, the empty ego is the hungry ego that needs to be recognized, needs to compete, and needs to give itself recognition through outside competitive plastic victories. The real victory is to modulate the ego in such a way that it is able to support your transformation within Kundalini grace. That is a victory. To not get into revenge, to not get into winning or losing, to not get into the competition, to not step into the morass of M-band frequencies that are there basically to weigh you down into the frequencies of captivity of physicality, captivity of dense frequencies of egoic expression upon this world. Move beyond that. Change your behaviors. Become forgiving all the time. Become tolerant all the time. Become patient all the time. And through those three qualities, you'll have strength all the time. You'll have intelligence that is far beyond what you currently have all the time. Because once you attain these qualities, even if you're not expressing them, that doesn't mean they're gone. They're there with you all the time, 24/7. All you have to do is turn to that channel, and it is there. It is there because you are there, and you have made the choice as you stand on that first step, looking out into the environment, taking in the consciousness of the life stream, the life force around you. Your opportunities to traverse and transform are being given to you right now, this very moment. Think about it. It doesn't matter. I mean, you have each one of you will have very, very specific, strong levels of resistance coming to you. And they will be exogenous to you, some of them will be exogenous to you. And some of them will be endemic to you, created by you in order to challenge you into creating that next handhold up to that next chakra system that you need to study and immerse yourself in. If you change those behaviors, you can make that handhold. And by changing, that means that you cannot give as much credence to the difficulties and the blockages and the torment that levels of challenge have been giving to you throughout your life. You must learn how to swim in the hurricane. You must learn how to surf the tidal wave. These are the things that you must learn to do, and they will help you. They will help you in ways that I cannot enumerate even right now. Let's take loneliness. For the Kundalini person, it can be an extremely lonely experience as you're here, accelerated and heightened levels of divine frequency recognition that nobody else has. Nobody else can come close to your wisdom, and you don't like to blow your own horn because you're not into the self-aggrandizement. So you're not really putting that wisdom out there, but you read it and you understand what it is that's coming to you, and yet nobody else does around you. Nobody really wants to listen to you say it either. And so you find yourself kind of cut off from the social flow of friendship. And what I'll suggest you do is you'll expand your ability to love the innocent, expand your ability to love the ignorant, for they too are just as precious in the heart and mind of divine frequencies. They're just sleeping, that's all. Tuck them in, give them some more blankets, help them be more comfortable within the life expression that they're having. Don't expect them to come up to your speed. And when your level of frequency due to this expansion of love within you, when your level of frequency increases and creates another handhold up the chakra system, you will have the people drawn to you who want to hear what your Kundalini has to say through you, who will want to be near you, who will want to touch you and love you and kiss you and hug you and hold you and be your friend, be your companion. But you must drag yourself out of some of the ego expressions in order to get to that point. Really, there is no such thing as loneliness. If you accept all life patterns of creation as sentient forms of divine expression, the ants, the beetles, the fish, the birds, the mammals, the viruses, the bacteria, the plants, everything, the minerals, they are all forms of expressed divine consciousness. And you can communicate with them. So in a sense, and this is just on this world, I'm not even talking about the spiritual energetic they have waiting around for you to say hello. Not talking about entities here, because they're definitely not your friends, but about, those spiritual consciousness that are watching you, that in some way may be helping you or without interfering with you, but helping you in some way, sending you their love and their support and their guidance with you, if they're allowed to do that through the Shakti Kundalini. You're never alone on this world, and there is no such thing as privacy. That may be something that you'll have to get used to. Think about these things as you stand at the base of that giant, beautiful silver and gold, blue and red pyramid behind you, as you face into the environment, as you face into the wind and its intelligence, as you feel the droplets of rain fall upon you and the intelligence in the ecosystem of each drop as it comes down upon you. As you inhale the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, the nitrogen, the argon, and the other gases that create a force that prana and chi can travel upon, and by the breathing of it can travel within you, and by that traveling within you can elicit a divine response within your energetic anatomy. Feel this connection. Expand your attention, your awareness. Find the appreciation and the love that will allow you to expand in these ways. It's there, waiting for you, holding its hand out to you, beckoning to you, come to me. And at this time, I would like to introduce my co-host. Her name is Amelia Santara, and she is the creator of this show. She is what is allowing this show to come into your ears right now, this programming. And I want to send all gratitude and love to her and her Shakti benevolence that she is gifting everybody with. And so I'd like to say hello to you, Amelia Santara. Hello.
Hello, Chrism. Hi, everybody. Oh, I wanted you to or something there for a little while, Chrism. That was wonderful. Thank you.
All thanks go to the Kundalini.
Yeah. I know. And the Kundalini through you. So thank you both.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So maybe I could begin by just giving the website that people could go to if they would like to make a donation. There are two of them. The first one is www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, and the other one is www.kundalinisafeties.com. and the donate button is there. And you are most welcome to contribute and to donate. And if you're in a position to do that, it would be greatly appreciated. So thank you all very much. I don't know. With that, it might have been my phone.
That was your phone.
I think, yeah, it was. Pardon me.
Thank you for the announcement.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
There it goes. Can you switch it to silent? Can you make it silent?
I tried to do that. I try again, Chrism, when I go blue, okay?
Okay, all right, my dear. And I'm going to let you go blue right now, and I'm going to bring Rosemary Goliath online. And Rosemary is one of the event organizers for Kundalini Awakening Systems 1, and I believe she has an announcement to make.
Yes, we have a Kundalini seminar here will be in Mankato, which is about an hour south of the Twin Cities. That's October 28th and 29th. And Joey and Katie and I are getting ready to plan our time from now till then, so that we can go to and gather people and share about Kundalini, what it is, how it works, and how we've experienced it in our lives. And we're looking forward to that. And we don't have all the details yet, but that's part of our working right now.
Yeah. Well, very good, very good. Well, it's quite a ways in advance, and so, but I just wanted to give you the opportunity to say that, and thank you very much, Rosemary and Joey and Katie, for doing that.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and bring it on back to Centaur Kundalini, and before we go to Mankato in Minnesota, we'll be going to Berlin in Germany, and Manisha Manish, I believe, is that's her web name, and she is the European organizer for the German Kundalini Awakening Seminar, and I'd like if we could relay some of her details. Centaura, are you able to do that?
I am, of course, Chrism, yes. So it's Manish, which sounds so exotic, just like herself. And she's organizing this, and she did it last year, and it was a wonderful success. So we're going back to the same venue, and it's happening on the 15th, 16th, and 17th of September. It's in Berlin, and you can contact Manisha at postio.de. And at this moment, actually, she's taking deposits, and already some are coming in. So do contact her, and she can let you know the details of the seminar. 15th, 16th, and 17th of September.
Yes, 15th, 16th, 17th of September. And it was a very, very, very beautiful and profound experience last year that we did it. And I want to put out my gratitude to Manisha Manish for organizing it and for making it such a success. And, really it was the first foray into the European continent with this information. And I know that on the island of Ireland, we've had quite a few of these seminars organized by you, Centaura, and much gratitude to you for that as well. But this is the first one that's on the European continent. Isn't that so, Centaura?
Yes, on the mainland. Let's put it like that.
On the mainland.
On the mainland. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's wonderful because Berlin, Berlin is very easy to access from all parts of Europe. You just get on a plane, a bus. There's so many ways to get there that it's wonderful, and it was a fantastic venue. And I think that the people who came last year are coming again.
Oh.
What is that noise? Can you hear
that? Listen, everybody. Now, Amelia Centaura has just come through a very difficult operation on her thyroid in her throat, and she's still recovering from that. So if she is if the sound is a little strange, it's because of that, not because of her technology, except when people are trying to reach her. Okay. Just wanted to say that. Am I correct? Is this not true?
This is true, Chrism. Yes, indeed.
And so our prayers and our happiness for you for having a successful operation, go to you, Amelia, and keep up the good work of getting better and better and better. Okay?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it from everybody. Thanks, Chrism.
Well, shall we begin with some questions if you have any?
I do. I have gathered some questions. I will begin with the ones that were sent to my inbox. Okay. The first one is, how Kundalini active person should control lust and fluid retention?
How should they control lust and fluid retention? Well, this is really a good question because it's so important with the way our reproductive energies work within the Kundalini is, and even outside of the Kundalini, is what in many cases drives the force of our charisma upon this world, our force of life, our force of strength, our force of being able to deal within that materialistic band of energetic frequency on this world. The ability to protect ourselves, the ability to have a family, to protect our family, to provide for our family, to provide for ourselves. I mean, it's very, very important how these energies are nurtured and how often they are harvested and why they may be harvested. By harvest, I mean expressed through the physical expression of sex and the procreative forces. And so it's very important for Kundalini people to retain their fluidic expression. Certainly with the men, a good 66% of a male's immune system strength can be wrapped up inside of the sperm of the individual. And so you want to keep the sperm, as present as possible. But it also goes for the women. You don't want to be overly expressive in the self-stimulative areas for the woman, because that also has an effect upon her immune system. Now, before, I have said when I was teaching Tantra a long time ago that the women can have as many orgasms as they want. And to a degree, this is true. But even within that understanding, you want to limit the amount of energetic expulsion that can come through the orgasmic release. And so I'm going to have to walk back a little bit on some of the advice that I gave during my tantric teaching years, because the drive, the energetic is the drive that allows a person to be all that they can be, and to be, really invested in life and really invested in their Kundalini practice, really invested in these many areas of expression that support the Kundalini. And so you want to tame tame is not the word. You want to accept the strong libido. You want to keep that libido strong. You want to keep the urge to have sex very, very strong without answering that urge with the orgasm or the ejaculation. You don't want to let it reach that point. Now, you can have the sex. If you use the ancient Chinese as an example, they have they developed many different ways to have the sex without having the orgasm, and yet having an orgasm that is not having the orgasm that isn't fluidically expressed. Okay, having the orgasm is like this total body energetic orgasm that you do not, if you're a man, ejaculate from, and that you do not, if you're a woman, give copious amounts of lubricating fluids from. Okay. full body energetic orgasm that is amazing. I wasn't going to say insane, because it is insane. It's insane with its power. It's the power of that kind of an orgasm is just beyond words. But you don't get it. You won't be able to get it if you're constantly giving your sperm or releasing the energetics from, say, normal sexual contact. And so you want to really, really, really cultivate the desire to have the sex. The desire is like, oh, guys, I just want to, whatever. And and yet you don't do it. This is what people don't understand about celibacy. They think, well, I'll just turn off my reproductive organs and then I'll be holy and I won't have any worries after that because I am celibate and I'm practicing brahmacharya and I am just so great on my spiritual path. And that's not it at all. You must have intact your desire to have sex. You must keep that and you must nurture that flame. And that flame needs to burn hot within you. And you keep it burning hot. You don't let it get blown out by the fluidic orgasm. You allow it to burn even hotter by having the energetic orgasm, the full body energetic orgasm, which does not include ejaculation, does not include, the streams of fluid that come from the female. Okay, you must harvest the energy without expressing the fluids, without taking this the normal way. And what this will do, as a person starts to get into this, what will happen is they'll really be libidinous all the time. They'll be horny all the time. Okay, and then you'll need to learn how to modulate your behavior within this extreme level of desire. Extreme level of desire. And you just need to be able to be okay, to be calm, to be quiet, to be within serenity and strength as you have this extreme level of desire come within you. Very important to do this. Very important. And as you practice this, and Mantak Chia, he has written some things about this, like the multi-orgasmic male and things like that. And I don't really buy into that at all. I'm much more aligned with, I believe his name is Julian Chang, and it's the Chinese Secrets of Sex, something like that. And that is the one. That's so the male would only ejaculate, say, like 4 times a year, and the same with the female. And from a fluidic standpoint, unless you're trying to start a family and do that whole thing, then of course, every single time that you copulate, then that's what you would be trying to do. But at this point, what we're talking about is just the Kundalini and going into a brahmacharya or celibatic or celibacy type of attitude. And this is where you retain the fluids. But you don't restrain the desire. You don't try to make it easier on yourself by going, oh, well, I'm just going to forget about sex. I'm just going to take it out of my system, take it out of my mind, and retrain myself to not even have that desire. And this is what you do not do. You fan that flame as hot as you can stand it without putting it out with the fluids. And you keep it hot. And you keep yourself invested in what makes you vital in this life. And the thing is, now what the ego will do is it'll start fantasizing about, oh God, look at that girl on the beach, or oh gosh, I just really feel drawn to pornography now, or oh gosh, I feel, Look at that man down at the end of the bar. Oh, my God. Look at that stubble on his face, the muscles. Oh, my God. You know, and you really don't want to take that route either. Now, don't get me wrong. You can enjoy the attraction that another human being presents for you, but you don't necessarily want to carry it so far that it forms a corruptive element within you, allowing ourselves to become corrupted based upon the retention of sexual fluids. You can also do the same thing with a beautiful flower. You'll find that your enjoyment of life is so vastly increased. So if, say, for instance, you're doing the Kundalini safety protocols, which I suggest everybody exploring the Kundalini begin to do twice a day. You can get there on kundalinisafety.com and practice those protocols twice a day. Those will begin to enliven your libido. Do not self-stimulate that energy out of you. Keep the energy into you. Let it expand you. And feel the vitality of life that begins to stay within you. You'll see, some of you that have the awakened Kundalini will actually be able to see the life force circulating around you. These are typically teardrop-shaped energetic particles that will rotate or fly around you in very specific patterns of expression. Okay, this is very important for people to remember this. The more you control yourself and you don't get lost in fantasies of, or pornography or things like that, and you just really let the sexual energies drive you into greater spiritual levels, greater spiritual refinement, greater levels of forgiveness, greater levels of tolerance, greater levels of patience, greater levels of love for everything, like you are when you stand on that first step of that beautiful pyramid facing outward, feeling the vitality of life with every breath that you take into yourself. Well, that alone will make you very, very libidinous. And you don't put that out by expressing it. You keep it within you. This is an energetic treasure that you keep within you, and you only express it. Only express it if you're giving life onto this world. I'm speaking from a Kundalini perspective, not from an M-band, 5 cents sleeping or person who will, we all know what they will do with the sexual thing. But the Kundalini person, you keep the treasure of that energy within you. And as you keep it within you, it will begin to empower you. As it empowers you, you keep your mind controlled with love, with forgiveness, with patience, with comprehension of what is occurring and why, with trust, with humility, living the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. This is the way we practice celibacy and brahmacharya within a Kundalini context. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Thank you. The next question. Why few symptoms of schizophrenia and being possessed are similar?
Well, because they are similar. They are. The symptoms of having, the first of all, discarnate spiritual consciousness is real. That's first of all. When a person is in an unbalanced psychological or emotional state, or they have a very, very, very fine line of tolerance when it comes to the incursion of entities, external entities coming into their consciousness, that is at once, it's a gift. It's a great gift. Most of the people that have schizophrenia their gift is being turned into a disease. These are extremely sensitive people that are psychically gifted, and that these entities recognize that that this world does not recognize the existence of discarnate entities. And so the entities attack them and try to dominate them and possess them. And that is very similar to what happens when a Kundalini person comes up and is exposed to the entity phenomena. Well, the entity phenomena will attack them because they know that the person's within that stage of the Kundalini experience. And so the entities will come hot and heavy, and they will attack, and they will try to possess, and they will try to insert fear and terror into the individual. And many of the individuals will capitulate to those fears and that terror and self-commit themselves to a psych ward and be diagnosed with schizophrenia and other diseases that they don't have, and will be medicated that way and be hypnotized or programmed into thinking that they're sick when they're not. They're just involved in a level of grace that science does not recognize yet. That guy you see talking to the air on the corner after he's had his fifth of vodka or whatever, he's partaking of the same thing. And people go, oh, well, that's just alcoholism. Well, you get into a severe enough level of alcoholism and you start seeing those entities and they will attack you. Okay? So that's kind of what's going on with people that have schizophrenia and people that have the Kundalini. That's why the DX or the diagnosis is very similar between the two, because first of all, science doesn't recognize Kundalini, so it must, to them, be schizophrenia. But when you finally get a doctor that has had a Kundalini awakening and has gone through that experience, they know that it's quite different. Quite different. All right, next question.
Next question. Thank you. How does the evolution of an ordinary soul from activated and awake... Sorry, let me read that again. How does the evolution of an ordinary soul to activated and awakened soul happen? Is karma involved?
What?
Uh-oh.
Say that again.
Really?
Say that again. Say it again.
How does evolution...
Say it like you're talking to a 5-year-old, which is not too far from the truth.
How does the evolution of an ordinary soul to activated and awakened soul happen? Is karma involved?
Yes, karma is definitely involved. The person has reached a point in their spiritual development where the Kundalini can activate within them. As I mentioned, I think I may have mentioned it. I'm sure I've mentioned it in other programs. The Kundalini person has lived many, many, many lives in order to come into a level of expression with the Kundalini, the activation of the Kundalini, that step into the divine frequency. It takes a while to get there. That person, and it's not like they've had to do chakra work or, been a minister in a past life or any of these types of things, but through the many lives that they have lived, they have balanced and redeemed as much of the karma as they needed to have balanced and redeemed through karmic redemption, that they have finally reached an area where they can activate the Kundalini. And then the Kundalini begins to teach them about what it is to be a spiritual individual, what it is to not rely on alcohol or tobacco or marijuana or LSD or any of these things. How it is, the most important thing really is to keep the body pure. You've got to remember that it's the pure state of heavenly grace that is coming into the system. That is another treasure of divinity that we have within us, and all we have to do is stop polluting ourselves. So that person has lived a life that has allowed them to balance as much of their frequencies of divinity as they needed through the karmic redemption process. And now they've come into the Kundalini activated stage. And now perhaps their mind is being manipulated by grace, by divinity. That mind is being manipulated in such a way that they no longer crave to watch pornography. They no longer crave to take a drug or a fluid that kills brain cells. Now they want to preserve and to nourish the body and to help the body and to accept the body in the many ways that we have the opportunity to accept it. We're not fat shaming ourselves, and yet we're not eating such copious levels of high fructose corn syrup in order for huge levels of fat to attach or to develop within us. We're taking care of ourselves. We're getting exercise. We're getting meditation times. We're doing service for other people. We're living the life of the Kundalini activated individual, and we're being drawn to certain spiritual systems that exist on this world right now. We're getting drawn, like when I was in the activated stage, I was constantly drawn to T. Lob Singh Rampa's writings. I read all his writings, and I'd be drawn to these used bookstores because they were no longer in print. I'd be drawn to these used bookstores where there would be one or two of them for sale. I couldn't believe it. This guy stopped writing in the 70s, the early 70s. And so I was drawn to those precepts, to those understandings, to those ideas, and they were fairly far out, many of them. Transmigration being one of them. Oh my word! Putting a steel nail into somebody's third eye in order to prematurely activate it. Stuff like that. Really, really amazing stuff. It's the first time I heard of the Golampa runners of Tibet, where these men go into a specific level of meditation, and then they literally fly in long steps, like 60 yards at a step. So they, these constant arcs where they take off and they land, they take off and they land, they take off and they land across the Tibetan plains. And this is how messages were sent from school to school, from monastery to monastery. And so, these levels of information were constantly being fed to me and constantly being promoted for me to go find more. And I did. I followed those compulsions. And so would the activated person who's just coming into this. And this is a foundational level of creating the divine platform for that person to understand, what they need to do later on. And this is why I've given so copiously of the writings that come through her. And this radio show is included with that, because these are the levels of understandings that people need to have. These are the levels where I don't care how old you are or how young you are, Kundalini doesn't either. So when she starts to come within you, these are the levels that you need to start looking at. These are the levels, these informational levels. And if you go to Kundalini Awakening ! On Facebook, or Kundalini Awakening Systems1.com, or any of the blogs that Amelia has mentioned, you can start reading some of these instructions that the Kundalini has given me to give to you, so that you can get yourself on board in a safe and sane and very progressive way with your Kundalini, and without letting your ego or the consciousness that exacerbate ego issues, where you can resist that. You don't have to give in to that anymore. Those lives for you are finished. You have to give in to the low frequency commands of torment that entities have to give to the Kundalini person. And instead, you begin to accept the grace that is within you, the treasure that is expressing itself through you. Very, very important for people to understand that, to receive that. It's extremely important. And this is what that activated stage is starting to give to that individual who has come from the mundane through the karmic redemptive process into the Kundalini activation stage. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. The next question is, when I become lucid in a dream or have an OBE, I return to the body very soon, automatically. I have no fear or negative emotions there. Master Chrism, what can be the reason for the fast returning into the physical body except fear? But I do not have any fear. How do you have any advice on how to prolong the time being in the astral?
The time for this individual is being determined by the higher forces that govern their spiritual development. And they need not to be greedy with wanting more and more and more time outside of the body. What they need to begin to do is to start bringing those experiences on the astral into the body in the present format, just the way I was saying earlier in bringing a past experience into a present format. This person needs to do that, not to desire to have the beautiful, blessed experiences outside of the body, but to bring those experiences into an active expression within the body. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Next question. I was upstairs in my home that I share with my mother. Her bedroom is downstairs, so I'm the only person upstairs. At 9 p.m., I was in the bathroom getting ready for bed. All of a sudden, the hallway light is turned on. This is strange because I never turn on that light. Anyway, it's being flipped into the on position. Does this sound K-related, or am I starting to lose it?
Is this what?
Is this Kundalini related at all, or am I starting to lose it?
The flip is
the light's going on.
Well, no, but the switch is being flipped. Yeah, it can be Kundalini related. I mean, there can be an entity there that is responding to her Kundalini and maybe trying to teach her to turn the light on within herself. You know, giving her that message, turn the light on. In light, in meant. And you're not going crazy. This type of phenomena happens all the time. TV turns on, it's not plugged in. Radio turns on, it's not plugged in. Computer fries and it's brand new. I mean, the electrical areas of Kundalini interaction are fairly broad and not too. You don't need to think that you're crazy because this happens a lot to Kundalini people. But you might look, my dear friend, you might look at what it is that's being shown to you. Why the lights turning on? Why the door opening here when I started the program? What's being suggested? What is being given? Maybe you're looking at it in a way that is fear-based by thinking, oh, am I losing it? Or maybe you're not looking at the actual message that is being given. Maybe the light is being suggested that you turn on behind your eyes. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. I am so tired of the matrix. I took 2 days off work. I lied and said I was ill. Spiritually, I need R&R time and meditation time, but it's difficult to maintain in the matrix and on the phone 8 hours a day. It is difficult to be in this world with awakening. Do you have any tips about that? And the lighting at work and the talking, it's very disruptive to my process, I feel.
No, I would not. I would not agree. You're here in, as you call it, the matrix. You're here in this world. You're here in this society. It's best to be honest and truthful. And I do understand the need for some R&R, but perhaps it's your work environment that needs to be changed, not your level of truth. So maybe you should ask your Shakti to find another form of employment that is more suited to you and your Kundalini life. Maybe this is what you need to do. And you'll know from your inner source what is or is not appropriate for you from your Kundalini. Trust yourself and trust your Kundalini. Work hard and don't be afraid to change jobs if the one you have isn't working or is healthy for you, to support the needs that you have in your mundane life and your spiritual life at the same time. But don't think that, because you call this the matrix, that you're in some sort of a thing like the movie. Okay. I think you're probably putting too much credence upon the movie. You're here on purpose. You chose to do the human education from ground up, from ground to enlightenment. And because you're in society right now that is probably driving you nuts and you're on a telephone 8 hours a day, maybe this isn't the job for you. Maybe there are other positions that can provide the same level of financial input, but with less of an environmental struggle for you. But there's this whole thing that you're calling this the matrix, and a lot of people do that as well. And on the one hand, I can see where people could make the correct comparison with the movie, where the individual is living in a life of Maya or a life of illusion, and that the real world is quite different when they step out of that illusion. I can see that, and that I would have to say that there's a level of strong truth to that. But that doesn't mean that you just get to leave it. You chose to come into this world and to make to receive the lessons that you have received. And you have the Kundalini now. That's a big deal. But you had to live lives to get that Kundalini. Just happened one day, I've got Kundalini now, without having, to go through the karmic redemptive process. You've lived those lives and you're living this life. Now stop whining and complaining and start doing something about it. If you don't like your work, then get another job. If you do like your work, then do the work and don't let other people's interactions with you hurt you or cause you to be, disrupted in your evolution. Just because the going gets tough, and you're surrounded by ego expressions, well, you're going to be surrounded by ego expressions everywhere you go on this world. The point is that we have the Kundalini, we have the exalted heavenly grace upon us, and we can receive the insult of the ego expression without allowing it to damage us. We can receive the insult of ego expression without allowing it to damage us. That's what you need to remember. Over.
Thank you. Thank you, Chrism. Master Chrism, I have one question about entities. If they reside upon the third physical plane, why are some of them cruel? What is the correlation of their essence towards our human nature? And when we get enlightened and have no attachment to this 3D realm, we don't need to get back here for lessons and purifying our ego. What is with their life path? Why do they need to come to the 3D plane? I am a little confused. Thank you, Master.
Well, I mean, there's many reasons for them to come to the Earth. Well, not all of them are attached to what he's calling the 3D reality. So this person, I feel, is making assumptions about the nature of reality that aren't helpful. Certainly not to a person that has expanded understandings. So, that being given, entities, including cruel ones, have very specific lessons to teach those who are coming within the education of Kundalini. Not all Kundalini teachings are happy or sugar-coated, and many are supposed to be difficult. They must be difficult, as we will still have some karmic residue that require the difficulty for redemption. So it's very important for people to understand that Shakti allows, the Sacred Mother allows us to be challenged by entities that are corrupting. What you do is it's very much like what I suggested with the sexual expression. You have the Kundalini, you have the grace, and you have this light, and this light, the spiritual radiance, attracts the corruptive entities like bugs to a street light. They come in and they try to attack you, and they try to corrupt you, and they try to take control of you, and they try to hurt you, and they try to suggest things to you, and they lie to you, and they do all of this, where no one can see and no one can hear but you. And what that teaches you to do is that teaches you to stick to the teachings of grace. Be ever more forgiving, be ever more tolerant, be ever more patient, elicit ever more levels of goodness upon your neighbor and upon the environment. And what I would do is when the entities would suggest to me, oh, Chrism, you're such a malignant individual, you must kill that old man and his granddaughter. Here's a pistol. They hand you a pistol. You must kill this person. Well, but then I would know that there was some elderly person and a younger person that I must do something extremely life-affirming for. And so every time they gave me a negative thing or a negative suggestion to do, I would do the exact opposite. This is the crucible of reversal. I would reverse it. And so every time they gave me a bad thing to do, then I turned it into a good thing. And so what they were doing was something they hate to do. Every time they gave me an evil thing, well, I turned it into a beautiful, loving grace. And so they were providing through my conduit, through being, connected to me, they were providing a beautiful, loving thing to be created upon this world. And they didn't like that, so they left. So they give you, the reasons why they come is they give you an opportunity to expand levels of love-based grace, helpfulness, service, nurturing the qualities of love and validation within yourself, nurturing the healthful qualities of how you respond, how you behave, how you act, how you are with your fellow person in your society. But you've got to figure out that key. You've got to look at it and go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay, this thing is telling me to do this, this, or that. Well, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to commit an act of beauty, an act of grace, an act of happiness, an act of joy, an act of bliss upon somebody because they told me to be, and this is how you avoid corruption. This is how you are able to withstand the many, many, many instances of entity interaction with you while you have the Kundalini. And, when you come under a certain level of what people consider enlightenment to be, you've graduated many of the classes that are being taught on this world. But now it's time to move on to another reality and another set of lessons to continue the journey into the divine. And this reversal is one of those lessons that allow this journey to be continued. And, not everyone who comes into enlightenment chooses to leave this earth. There is education and assisting others to come into enlightenment. There are teachings of service and kindness and love that also help not only those who require the help to be given to them, but those who are giving the help. And in order to give that help, sometimes we need to learn through difficulties. Sometimes we need to learn, what love is all about as you learn to surf the tidal wave, you learn to swim in the hurricane. Okay? And it's not just love of helping humans either. It's also the love that binds everything together, the love of animals and plants and the consciousness of the elements, the consciousness of the air, the water, the earth. Love for all manifestations of life. And it's extremely important that people understand this and to learn from this and to accept that as a part of their everyday life expression. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. I have a few more questions, but in the meantime, if people on the chat room have any questions, feel free to write them out. Or if anybody listening on the radio has a question, press number 1 and we will see a question mark come up and Chrism can talk with you. The next question, Chrism, is it normal to fall asleep when reading the safeties?
I would say so. I would say this is just a boring read. But in reality, though, I mean, if you fall asleep during reading of the safeties, you're just processing the safeties in a way that allow you to perhaps bring it into other levels of comprehension within yourself. It's just like when a person falls asleep during a class or something. They're still receiving the information. They're just receiving it on different levels, and that is what is occurring when a person falls asleep during the safeties as well. And it's okay. It's okay. Just go back and read, let your conscious mind also receive the information that your unconscious frequencies received. Don't just give it up. Don't read the safeties just one time. I counsel people to read them 3 times in the first session of reading the safeties. Over. And Alana Seeker has a question here or a statement. She says, what is your understanding of how to reconcile the Buddhist doctrine there is no self with reincarnation? What gets reincarnated if there is no self? I think what the Buddhist doctrine of no self is no ego. I think they're using ego as a word. They're using self as a word for ego, is how I feel that is coming down. And I think so. The Buddhist doctrine is there is no ego. Well, then that would. Because egos develop within the lifetime of the individual. They're not necessarily reincarnated, although aspects of an ego can be reincarnated. So, for instance, as we spoke at another time about a person drowning and having that fear and that torment of drowning come into the next life. So there are aspects of an ego, or through severe tribulation, that can come into the next life and therefore come in and influence the new egotistical development that is happening. But I feel that the Buddhist doctrine, there is no self, is basically saying there is no ego, i.e. there is no ego, there is no desire, there is no attachment, there is no manifestation, there is no want, there is no fear, there is no abandonment, there is no lack. I mean, you can just go through the entire level of non-attachment with that, and yet you don't want to take it as a spiritual self. I don't think the Buddhists are saying there is no spiritual self, there is no soul. And if they are saying that, then I have a very strong disagreement with that. But I'm sure there are some Buddhist doctrines that suggest that there is no spiritual self, that it is all just this. And Buddha did all these things and didn't stay around because he wasn't asked. I read that on the net the other day. Because he didn't hang out because nobody asked him to. It's like, oh, please. Over.
Okay, thanks, Chrism.
Yes.
The next question. Can sneezing be somehow related to entities? I usually get cold vibrations and feeling anxious and some kind of pressure before I sneeze. But now I've moved into a new house. I have this constant feeling that entities are in there.
Sneezing can be a sign of a not so much spiritual presence, but a reaction to a spiritual presence. It's an expulsion of energy, and so if the energy is not correct, or is not the Kundalini isn't agreeing to that level of energetic incursion, then the body will sneeze and expel it out. And so I personally enjoy sneezing. It's the next. Well, never mind. But I enjoy I like to sneeze.
Well, they can be a bit that way, sometimes.
It can, indeed.
Yeah.
Over.
Okay. Okay, I need some advice. I've been meditating off and on for a while, and recently it has started happening that whenever I sit still for even a few seconds, I start to feel vibrations in my head at my third eye chakra and crown chakra. I feel tingling sensations in the third eye chakra. And at times I feel as if I'm in a trance.
We're not getting the whole story. We're not getting the whole story with this person. They're cherry picking their phenomena and what they're doing. So it's not a complete statement. I mean, they're hiding other things that add into this equation. And one of the things I see that they're hiding is, they're doing some of that third eye opening type of stuff, and which I suggest people do not do. Do not try to force open the third eye. Do not do the prayers or the incantations or the meditations or the pranayama that are designed to open the third eye chakra first. Big mistake. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. For the past 2 days, I've noticed that my back has heat spots along my spine and they move into my neck. Yesterday was the longest I have felt that heat and reaching up to the back of my skull. Now I want to allow this feeling to progress within me and not block it, but I am unsure as to what I need to do first.
Practice the safeties twice a day.
Okay.
Do an extended level of pranayama. The one thing is you don't want to let your desire block it. If you want it too much, you can actually form a blockage to having anything happen. So take your egotistic desire out of it and allow it to occur by providing it with the nutrients that it needs in order to occur. And this is what the safety protocols will give it. It will give that equation the nutrients that it needs in order to rise up or to expand. It's being stopped at the base of the neck by an organ in the body at the base of the neck that the energy hasn't quite reached a modulation that is healthy for the crown chakra yet. And so there's more refinement for the person to bring into themselves. So do that refinement work, and that energetic will go straight up into the top of the crown. Over.
Okay, thanks, Chrism. There was a longish post where somebody was writing about things that are happening in their house, like a painting holder broke loose, and they had a feeling that they were flying, things like that. The grandmother passed away a year and a half ago. Anyway, the person tends to overthink things a lot, and they're feeling fearful, and they want to be safe and sure. So this weekend, they're going to their childhood home to watch a dog. But it's the night time, and they're scared. And they feel that this holds back their life in general. And part of them wants to grab a tent and go out hiking alone in nature and into the dark and meet their fears once and for all. Would you suggest that's a good idea, Chrism, or not?
Is this all of them or just one of them?
Is this all of what?
Is this one individual we're talking about here, or a family?
Yes. No, one individual, Chrism. One individual. This is on the group.
Is it male or female?
I can't. It's male, and I think it's the person who likes Archangel Gabriel.
Oh.
But they're very, I think.
Oh.
I didn't copy that, but I'm fairly sure. But they're very fearful, and I just wonder,
Yeah, go ahead. You're wondering.
Well, they do say on the group, if it's out of topic, you can delete it. But it wasn't deleted when I went there, so I'm calling it out.
This person is this Hoog?
Yes, I think so, Chrism, yes.
Oh,
okay. I should probably go double check. Darn.
Yeah, these people that do the archangel thing. Everything becomes ascribed to the archangel. Yes.
But they are having a lot of, we'll say, phenomena in the house, and they're he is very fearful at night, and so on, and he's saying, will he go out?
The scenario with him is that he is externalizing everything. He's externalizing his search. He's not looking within. He's giving it to some entity calling itself Archangel Gabriel or Archangel Michael or Archangel this or that, or the supreme founder of the Akashic Ray, in guidance of the Akashic library, commands this and that. It's just bullshit. And so this person is surrounding himself with falsehood and with fear and with negativity. And of course, he's going to attract those qualities that want that to occur within him. So instead of looking external to himself, outside of himself, he can start looking within himself and trusting grace, trusting divinity, and not going for these, Marvel comic cartoon characters of Archangel this or Archangel that. And I know I'm stepping on a lot of toes when I say that, and I don't apologize, because this is God. This is part of the disinformation that occurs on the web, because people want to look so powerful. They want to be, yes, I'm in communication with the Archangel Michael or Archangel Raphael or whatever. What if you're an indigenous person? What if you don't buy into archangels? What happens to them then? Then they just basically disappear into a dust of fabrication, which is what they actually are. Now, don't get me wrong. Angels do exist and archangels do exist, but they're not here to do the bidding of people. Certainly not the ego in people. So I'm going to let it go.
So,
but the thing is, but I'm going to say. Go ahead.
This is HOOG. That's who we're talking. That's the person who posted.
That's the person we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So instead of externalizing your focus and your understandings, begin to internalize. The kingdom of heaven is within. A famous book is telling us. You need to, if you're generating fear because of your external focus on spiritual matters, then stop doing the external focus. Start relying on love and happiness and health and intelligence, wisdom. Start practicing the safeties and do not cash in on fear anymore. everybody has an extreme right to be here, or they wouldn't be. And even this gentleman who is looking at the external fabrication of popular possession, even as he does that, he has every right to be here, has every right to go through the learnings that he's going through. But truth is truth, and if a person wants the expression of Maya to be their truth, well, then so be it. Don't ask me questions about it, though, because I'm not gonna sugarcoat my truth to you. If I see it, if it comes up and it's in a public forum, I am going to nail it for what my Kundalini sees it to be. Period.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I just stick with this a little bit longer?
Have him burn some Palo Santo in every corner of the house.
Okay.
And, that should help it quite a bit, actually. But, that's the easy way. That's the easy way out. That's the way where you don't have to internalize anything. You just have to light a match or light a lighter, set the wood on fire, let it smoke, go to each corner of the house, right? But all that does is just kind of help to get rid of a symptom that is more indicative of a deeper level of fear and distrust that is harboring itself within the individual. Over.
So when he's going to his old home this weekend and leaving, that he's very fearful of, what would he practice? Like, how would he go inside to not have fear there, Chrism? What would he do?
Well, he could take the Palo Santo in there with him and take it in every corner of the house.
But that's
yeah.
different to his own house. This is going to his old home. I'm sure, suppose he doesn't do that. That's external. What can he do to look internally to be less fearful, He can
begin to talk to his Kundalini. He can begin to talk to God or Goddess within him. He can begin to a conversation with the source of his soul within him that, in the last three vertebrae of the tailbone. He can begin to look into his heart. He can begin to be compassionate and courageous through compassion of the understandings that it's a broad world that we live in. There is no need to fear. There is every need to love. There is every need to forgive. There is every need to be tolerant. And there is every need to take proactive choices and decisions into a fearful event. I remember, I would have a recurring dream when I was younger, and I would be taken to an old Victorian home that I used to live in, and that everybody in this town knew was haunted. And I used to live there. I paid $85 a month to live in a room in that house. I forget for how many months. And after I moved out, a long time after I moved out, I was given recurring dreams through Kundalini that would force me into the house. And there in the house, I would get slammed against walls. I would get thrown against the ceiling, slammed on the floor. It was terrifying. Over and over and over this would happen until I finally, started to get pissed. And I would walk up to the house and I would make my presence there. Say, go ahead, take me. Let's see how it goes. So in some ways, we have to kind of work our way through our fear, through experiencing in order to get beyond the fear.
And do you think to go out into the darkness on his own with the tent into the nature, do you think that would be a helpful thing to do, to face fears that he has of the dark and the unknown?
I think going into the house is the place to face the fear. Okay. Once again, if you look at the house as an expression of you, then you go into you to experience the fear. You don't go outside, run away into the environment, and go, okay, I'm facing my fear now. as the butterfly floats by.
Uh-huh.
You know, no, you got to go into the house.
Right. Yeah.
Unless he's unless he's deathly afraid of the dark, and if that's the case,
he
then
is. He is. Yes.
Well, then go into
yes.
the dark. But you got two places. You got two places to meet your fear with. You got the dark outside. You've got the dark inside. I think if you face the dark inside, the dark outside disappears. Just my thought.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Chrism, very much.
Yes, ma'am.
There's another question here. Where's it gone? Okay. I found a great video by Chrism on desires. I was wondering if sex can also be called such as a substitute for intimacy, like when you overlook the person involved and how potentially damaging he or she can be, like omitting red flags just to have that intimacy that might be an illusion, ? Oh.
I didn't get that.
Did you want... I didn't either. Sorry, I
no,
copied
that's okay.
these
Let's put that one. Let's give that one a rest. I've been given to say that there are instances of positive entity guidance that the Kundalini will allow. I've been given to say that. There are instances of positive entity guidance that the Kundalini will allow. Not all entities are corrupting. Most of them are, but not all of them are. People need to understand that, especially if they're in the activated phase. There are positive entities that will help a person. Not saying this comes in the archangel format, but not saying that it doesn't. Angels have been known to help people at very specific times of great distress in their lives. They're just not there at the beck and call of the human ego. This is what I was trying to say. But the Kundalini in me wants to make that very clear. Just as there are negative entities, so are there positive entities as well. The real gift is not to be addicted to either one. Any last words, my dear Santara?
Oh my goodness, it's 1:00. Wow. Thank you very much, Chrism. Thank you very much. We're really blessed in so many ways by Kundalini's communication to us through you, Chrism, on this show and in all the various places that you do this. So it's an honor to be here every week. See everybody again next week. See everybody on the archive. Thank you, Chrism. That's all from me. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Amelia Santara. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you in the chat room. Thank you for the call-ins. And thank you, as Amelia suggested, the people listening to us in the archives. Thank you, everyone. And I will end it the way it was begun.